Hello and welcome. I'm Tracey Polowich, host of the Excellence Connection podcast, where we connect our listeners with subject matter experts, knowledge, and resources in the aim of increasing organizational performance and helping them along their excellence journey. Today, I have Dawn Ringrose as a guest. Dawn is the author of the Organizational Excellence Framework and principal at Organizational Excellence Specialists. Welcome to the show, Dawn.
Pleased to be here, Tracey.
I'm so excited to have you. As you know, you are one of my key mentors, and you've taught me so much about excellence and quality. And it's been so interesting learning about how to use the Organizational Excellence Framework. And you've always been so willing to share your information and your wisdom and guide me along as I've needed assistance with working with clients and these tools. Can you please give the audience a little of your background and a brief introduction of yourself?
Certainly, I'll give everybody the Reader's Digest version. I'll start back my university days when I did an MBA. And then after that, I entered management consulting and worked towards the certified management consultant designation. I worked with the large firms at the beginning and then segued into my own small firms. And throughout my career, I've also had the chance to work in government and nonprofit as well. So I've kind of dipped my toe in the water of business and government and nonprofit, which helps build a good skill set and helps you to understand the vantage point of others that you're dealing with. And back in 1990 is when I discovered excellence models. And it's never the same after that. It was an area that I started to specialize in. And then in 2010, I created Organizational Excellence Specialists because I really wanted to pay that knowledge and know-how forward to others.
Yeah, and you certainly have. You are so generous with sharing, the information and tools that you've developed and wanting to get that awareness out into the world. And that's just great. So most organizations, I think we would agree, strive to achieve great results. They want to be that employer of choice and increase profitability, build strong relationships with their customers and their partners and other stakeholders. And many organizations work with fairly limited resources, and therefore they need to make the most out of everything that they have, their financial resources, their people, their capacity, and their time. Can you describe what an excellence model is and how it can help with all of these goals and aspirations of the organization that's in pursuit of high performance?
Now, what I've learned over time is that an excellence model provides a formula for success. It's in the research literature, and I've noted it firsthand working with organizations, that if you work with organizations to implement the best management practices that are in an excellence model, they develop a culture committed to excellence and go on to achieve exceptional results across a balanced system of measurement. And it's very formulaic and it works.
So maybe if you could just describe a little more about what is an excellence model and how can it help with those goals. You've authored the Organizational Excellence Framework publication, and that is an universal excellence model. And that was developed by you in Canada. What's special about that publication in relation to other excellence models out there?
Well, what the Organizational Excellence Framework does is it builds, first of all, on the leading excellence models, because it takes all those definitions of principles that characterize a culture committed to excellence and all the best management practices that we have across 9 key management areas, and it defines them. So it integrates what we know in excellence, which is great to have it all in one place, but it goes on to speak to the implementation guidelines, because this had really never been provided before. And this is the most frequently asked question that clients have, is how do you implement this practice or that practice? So I wanted to put those guidelines in there because that's exactly what management consultants do. And that's what we do day in and day out. So I wanted to share that with others. It's also unique in that it speaks to the interrelationships that we have between the principles and the practices themselves. And when you're looking at improving your performance in an organization, it's really important to be aware of those direct relationships. And the other unique feature, I think, is that we've got a turnkey toolkit that accompanies the publication. And so this whole toolkit is designed to make the whole journey towards improving the performance of an organization more simple and straightforward and more time efficient and cost effective.
So it's really also just not necessarily about just looking at improving one area, but understanding, when you talk about interrelationships, you mean understanding how one area affects another. And can you maybe give an example of how that works?
Yes, we've got these 9 principles. An example of a principle might be people involvement. That's an organization that really engages and involves their people in everything that the organization is doing and getting them to work towards a common aim. And that's, towards the vision or mission of the organization, or to bettering performance, etc. And so if you want to, let's say, improve, let's say you've got a low rating on that item and you want to improve it, you want to look throughout all the best management practices that have a direct relationship with that particular principle and take a look at your ratings there too. And any low rated items are things to work on improving so that you can buoy up that rating on people involvement. And when you think about it, the excellence model has 102 best management practices in it. And so there's these very definite relationships, direct relationships, to be aware of. And I don't want that to be overwhelming for smaller organizations, because for micro organizations, we're only looking at half those practices, given their size. But there's 51 practices for a micro size organization. And it's great for an organization to have a snapshot of their current state. And they can see what's going well, what needs to improve, and better able to focus their effort on the things that need to improve. And the things that need to improve could be, like you say, a key management area, like, let's say, work processes. We haven't designed and documented our work processes. But it could just be an issue. It could be, oh my goodness, we don't have a contingency plan. We have to make sure that over time we have something like that in place to better prepare for unforeseen events. So this is what I love about the excellence model, is that it can be applied to help address an issue. It can be applied to help strengthen a key management area. And it also can be used to make sure that you've just got a really good, solid management system in place and you're covering all the bases.
And when you talk about a management system for a micro-sized organization, they maybe only have a few employees. How can that excellence system, the excellence model and the management system, how can that really help them?
Well, it's applicable to any size or type of organization at any stage of their life cycle. And so when you think about a business, you think about starting a business and growing and developing it. And so if you're starting it, well, might as well get it off to a good start and do the things that we know work right the first time. And if you've been in business for a little while, you can take a look at, what's going well, what might need to improve in order to further grow. your business and develop it and help that business to perform a little bit better. So it's, like I say, applicable to any size and type of organization at any stage of the life cycle. And each organization is different, you know, their current state's different, because their chances are, let's say you've been in business for a while, you might have a lot of these practices in place. And so what you really want to do is build on your strengths and just focus on those things that you haven't been doing or haven't been doing well, and make sure that you address those things over time. And so it's really up to you in terms of as a business owner, you know, up to the order of priority. But everything in the excellence model also is organized so that if you take a look at, let's say, the practices in the leadership area, everything is listed in a chronological order, you know? And so the things at the top of the list are the things that you should be focusing on first. And you work your way down the list. So it's organized in that fashion, and it's, you know, don't be overwhelmed by it. Just make sure that as you're making sure you've got these practices in place and you're developing the culture the way you want it to be, that you're just taking this on as you are able. And this process could take place over 1, 2, 3 years in the time that you have available. But with everything that we've developed in terms of the toolkit, rest assured that it's going to be much quicker and much less expensive and much easier than it would be otherwise.
So you mentioned that it's, you know, when you start a business, that's a good time to implement an excellence model. But what about those businesses that have already been operating? You know, are there any prerequisites to implementation? What conditions can help make that implementation more successful?
Well, I think when I talk to businesses, probably first and foremost, I want to make sure the leader of the business, leadership team, is committed. You know, they're committed to wanting to do this, and that they really understand why. You know, and if they're keen about getting better results, which most businesses are, they need to know how we're going to go about it, what's involved, and what are we going to get at the end of the day. And so I like to make sure that they're familiar with that and feeling really comfortable with it before they embark on that journey.
Yeah, so you mentioned about senior leadership commitment. Are they typically the ones that have to lead the implementation of the excellence model, or can anyone in the organization play that role?
Well, leadership has to show to the rest of the organization that they're committed and they consider this a high priority. But there's often an excellence manager in the organization that is in charge of helping make sure that things you know, are undertaken and momentum is maintained. A consultant or a trainer that's coming in will guide the organization through the learning that they have to do, through, let's say, the assessment and improvement planning, and over time offer any implementation assistance that they might need. But I really think it's important to note that we're there to guide, you know, to inform and guide, because the organization wants this to be their management system. And we do everything we can to engage and involve the employees in the entire process so that they own it. And they're involved in learning, they're involved in assessing, they're involved in the improvement planning and the implementation. We just provide assistance where they need our help. They could need a little bit of training, coaching, some, you know, ongoing assistance. They might want us to roll up our sleeves and get involved and help with some particular projects. But it's really, really important that employees are engaged and involved so that they are gaining the knowledge and the skills and the experience because it's really up to them to fly on their own as quickly as they want to, right? And so for us, it's really transferring knowledge and helping build those skills so they reside in the organization, and the organization is not dependent on us. They are in the first little while till everything's off to a good start, and then off they go.
Yeah, that's been my experience as well with clients, that they're not as keen about having a consultant come in and do the work and then, leave that and go to the next engagement. That doesn't leave the organization really in the best position of carrying out and being successful. So where it's been, I think, successful in my experience is getting in there, helping the organization to really understand what it's all about, what the assessment information, how to answer the questions on the assessment, and then how to interpret the results of the assessment, and involving them in that improvement planning stage and getting all of their ideas, because they're the ones that, work with all of this every day. And then, being able to take that and move forward and repeat that process in that continuous improvement loop. So I think I agree with you that involvement of the client is very important. Can you walk us through what the assessment process, the whole assessment and improvement planning process looks like with the organizational excellence framework?
Yes, once we orient people in the organization that are going to be involved in the assessment, what we like to do is orient them to, well, what is excellence and what's in it for me, and we orient them also to the assessment instrument that we use and the rating scales, so that they're feeling very comfortable with it before they proceed. And when they proceed, they can do it online or in a workshop setting where they provide their ratings on the principles and the best management practices and all their open-ended comments. And the open-ended comments are just a rich source of information that help kind of rationalize the ratings. It probably gives you a better view of your organization than you can get anywhere. It's just an absolute wealth of information and quick wins for leadership. And it's great to involve the employees too, because if they're involved in the learning and the assessment, and then later on in the improvement planning and implementation, this is one way that you can really lighten your load if you're a leader or a manager, but it's also a way to accelerate the development of a culture committed to excellence. So we send out, with regards to the assessment, once people are oriented, we send them out an invitation to participate in it online or we're there in a workshop. And thereafter, when we take a look at the results, we've got a really good idea of where an organization is strong and where they need to improve. And then ideally, we work with the leaders to assign responsibility to address some of those low-rated items. And it could be individuals in the organization, it could be teams of people in the organization that work on these things. And then the excellence manager is there to help maintain, momentum on that sort of thing. And some organizations, they might not know how to do a given practice, or they might not have time to do work in certain areas, and that's where they might ask us for some help. But for the organization, it's really up to them in their given situation, how they deal with us. Like I said, we're there to guide and train and coach and support, and to the point at which the organization is able to fly on their own.
Yeah, I really like what you say about involving the employees at all the different levels of the organization. I think there's a tendency for leaders and managers to, they feel like it's their responsibility to fix problems or make improvements. And they sometimes forget that the people at the front lines, they have a lot of good ideas and knowledge about the processes that can be very valuable in leveraging the strengths that the organization has and making longer lasting improvements. And if they're involved, they're going to have naturally some skin in the game and buy-in to making it successful. Maybe can we talk about some of the success stories? Can you share some success stories about organizations that you've maybe have worked with, not sharing proprietary information or anything, but just some examples of where some good results can be achieved?
Yeah, I think, you know, some of the assignments that I've been particularly proud of, I've got a few that I can probably mention. One was with a ministry in a provincial government, and they started it. Of course, the ministry had been around for a while, you know, and they had started. We did some training with all their branches, and everybody was involved, kind of in a workshop setting in doing the assessment. And then we made sure that people were involved in the, you know, improvement planning and implementation. And I provided, you know, additional support as needed. And this organization really made some tremendous strides. In fact, they eventually received a national award. And I was just so pleased to see the progress that they made and the way they embraced this. So particularly proud of that. Another one was a business, you know, pretty large size business that was in the tourism area. And what I really loved about this is the leader of that organization really walked the talk, you know, and he wanted to make sure he was a leader that would spend the days in the shoes of his employees every month and come away with all sorts of great ideas by talking to them or the customers. So he was really keen about excellence. And they had been around for quite a number of years, this business, but still had a little bit of work to do and was able to do the things they needed to do over a few years. And they became, you know, bigger and better than they were, you know, prior to that. But during the course of this too, they were acquiring other businesses, and their businesses that they were acquiring in the United States were very good in, let's say, marketing sense. So they learned a lot from these businesses that they were acquiring, but they were very good. The client was very good operationally. And so when they acquired the other business, they were able to share best practice, really, which took them to, you know, another level altogether. And another favorite of mine was working with a municipal government that had taken, you know, went through a similar process. And they ended up doing things that they didn't have in place, like things like a strategic plan, you know, which is quite basic. But it made a big difference to them. And this organization, I can remember the excellence manager of the organization, how passionate she was about this and how she maintained the momentum and did all sorts of creative things that really got everybody engaged and involved, make sure everybody was having fun doing this. And this organization ended up a national award winner as well. And so particularly proud of those experiences. I think those three come to mind because they were, you know, I had involvement with these clients over longer periods of time. And I was in and out of the organization, helping out where I needed to. And I'm just so proud of them as I look back at their efforts and their enthusiasm, and the results that they got were just phenomenal. And I don't ever get tired of those success stories or seeing organizations, you know, reap the rewards of this and the results. I know across the balance system measurement, I take great pride in that and pride in celebrating them.
Yeah, it's amazing to see when you get them started and you give them almost permission to explore areas. You know, you might start based on something that they want to improve and come up with ideas with the group about how that improvement can happen. And then, you know, you start hearing about other things that, oh, well, if we did this here, what could we achieve over here? And just seeing the development of that mindset changing, you know, from the way we've always done things to that culture of excellence and continuous improvement. Well, you know, what can we do to improve here? Or what results could we achieve if we made changes in this area, and so on. Yeah. So that's always rewarding for us, right? To see that happen. So where can people get more information and about starting their excellence journey?
Well, I think the first stop is the website, you know, organizationalexcellencespecialist.ca. This website is chock full of information. And there's a lot of information there of value, you know, documents that can be downloaded. There is a calendar of events that people can attend. You know, we've got a range of things of experiences to offer people. There's, of course, our licensed professionals that are dotted around the world that are available to speak, you know, directly with people about, you know, whether they as a professional want to specialize or learn more about this area, or whether it's an organization and they want to take advantage of, you know, what we offer. So those are the sources I think that are the best sources. And we've just so that people understand the way that things are done at Organizational Excellence Specialists, is that I've purposely made sure that there is a lot of really good content on the website, because I'm interested in making a difference, you know, not in making a lot of money. And so there are things on the website that professionals or organizations can download, like the Organizational Excellence Framework publication. There's a 240-page publication. So why do I do this? Do you know, I want to make sure that everybody knows about excellence models and they can use this to their advantage. And then everything is designed so that, let's say an organization wants to do it by themselves, they've got the talent within, go for it. They need a little help, we've got a workshop series. If they need a lot of help, well, we've got some consulting services and coaching and training services that we can provide as well. So it's structured that way. And I think that's really important, because most organizations fit into one of those three groups, do you know? And so I wanted to make sure that we had everything there that would be beneficial to an organization or a professional, and that it's easy to get involved with us or engaged with us should they wish to learn more or do more.
Yes, it's so exceptional, the amount of resources and, you know, time that I know you've put into developing the framework and gathering, you know, knowledge from many, many different sources and sharing that. And, you know, that's just not heard of these days, but I admire you for your willingness to provide that information. And I think it means a lot if hopefully we can get the word out for organizations that, you know, like I mentioned at the beginning, a lot of organizations, they feel like they don't have the resources, time or capacity to do some of these things, but you've made it very easy and affordable for them to get started take it wherever they may. And also we have some very affordable resources to help them along the way as well. And I'm glad that you mentioned about our international colleagues. We've got people all over the world that are able to assist organizations with this work. And it's so nice. We're lucky, Dawn, you and I, because we get to meet with these people on a regular basis and share ideas and perspectives from different parts of the world, but they're there for everyone as well. So thank you for sharing all of that. And my last question that I'm asking all of my guests is, how do you remain in the growth zone? In other words, what do you do to deepen your own growth mindset?
Well, I think I'm always asking myself, two questions. What am I doing now? How can I do it better? And that becomes ingrained in you as an excellence professional, but it's also became kind of ingrained in me when I was young. In my pursuit in sport, in my pursuit of academics, and then of course in business. It's just the way that I tick, I suppose. And I have had a burning desire to make the world a better place. And I think that this fits in beautifully with that. Because I think if you can help improve the performance of organizations, that this will in turn buoy up a local economy, help facilitate trade, and all of this good work trickles into the resident quality of life. And so that is another important aspect, I think, to what I've always wanted to do over time, is pay it forward, so that others reap the benefits, whether it's professionals learning more about this and working with it, or it's organizations applying it and getting the desired results. And I think we're getting more of a chance to do this sort of work too, because we're working with a foundation that does nation building projects, and they've using the toolkit to train local professionals, because this is the best way to help spread what we do, is to train the local professionals, enable them to use the turnkey toolkit with the organizations in their community, and they become part of this excellence charge, making a real difference, where they are. And so we've developed that at Organizational Excellence Specialists. We've got a wonderful teams, when you think about the licensed professionals, the research professionals, and the newsletter professionals, it's quite a community.
It is.
That all is working towards this, a similar end. And you populate the world with enough people with a skill set, and you can make a real difference at home, and as we do, of course, abroad when we get a chance to work in other countries. So I'm particularly pleased with where this is at right now. It's really been a lifelong dream of mine to not only work in this area, enjoy a career in this area, but since I started Organizational Excellence Specialists back in 2010, this is exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in a position where we could really just unleash this, and that dream is starting to come true.
Well, I know you've certainly made a difference, and it's been very intriguing to see over the past 10 years that I've been involved, the change and the growth that's happened in your company and organization and community, as you mentioned. And it's exciting. It's exciting to see the knowledge being spread across the world and within many different organizations. So congratulations to you for taking on this journey and dedicating a lot of your time and efforts to that.
Well, thank you. And it's been a passion of mine. So it's something that I thoroughly enjoyed doing. And as I ease into, retirement, I know it's something that I'll be able to pass along to others, because we've developed so many good professionals that are able to do this work, and we've still got more. much more to do, but I see it continuing on in terms of, you know, what's been started here over the last 10 years and what builds on the good work that the excellence community around the world has been doing. I think that, you know, we're all in this together. I'm a big fan of working collaboratively with others wherever we can, and really, really proud of what we've been able to accomplish at Organizational Excellence Specialists and the beautiful community that we've developed. Really proud of that.
Well, Dawn, thank you so much for being here today and talking more about the Organizational Excellence Framework and the benefits of implementing an excellence model. I really appreciate you sharing with us in your wisdom and knowledge.
Wonderful chatting, Tracey. Thank you.
Thank you and take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.